Hi, my name is Linda Cirulli-Burton, and welcome to this channel named Above the Battleground, ACIM. A couple days ago, I was in a hospital waiting room, and I overheard a young woman saying to people that I think were her family members, "I have voices in my head. Do you have voices in your head?" And then it got a little muffled and I couldn't really follow the conversation, which of course I wasn't supposed to be doing. But anyway, I had an instant of total compassion for this young woman because I too had had voices in my head. So it happened that she was walking by me and I said to her, "Can I speak with you?" I said, "I overheard you say that you had voices in your head, and I wanted you to know that I had had them in mine. And if you had a chance, I would love it if you would sit with me so we could talk about this." And that's what I want to talk about. Above the Battleground is based on the teachings of a spiritual self-study path known as A Course in Miracles. I've been a student of A Course in Miracles for many, many years, but it's been over the last couple that I have really recommitted to studying and applying and learning the wisdom that the Course brings to my life. And I started these videos because, having been a classroom teacher, I knew that when I would prepare lessons and teach them, that it would go deeper within me. And that's what I wanted to do with A Course in Miracles. Not that I'm a teacher, but I am like you. I am on a spiritual path, and I want to share so that it'll go deeper within me and maybe be of some benefit to you. My new friend Rose, I'm calling her Rose, told me that the voice in her head was always condemning her. It was going after every infraction. She should have said this differently. She should not have said this. She could have done that. She didn't do that. Honestly, it was ripping her apart. It was going after her. And I assured her that the voice in my head was the exact same voice, always crucifying me, going after every flaw that I made. I was at the hands of a chatterbox that wouldn't lay off me. Now, I have to honestly tell you that I don't know if there was a moment when it all disappeared from me, but it stopped being an issue. And I have to give almost all the credit to A Course in Miracles. In fact, I was about the same age that Rose is right now when it was introduced to me. So today I drove a copy of it over to the hotel where she and her family were staying, and I'm kind of hopeful that this will end up being the spiritual path that will take her to the other world, you know? But anyway, one of the huge monster things that A Course in Miracles taught me was obviously giving me a mythology that would help me understand maybe what was going on in life in these bodies. And it's one that always bears a little bit of repetition in that in the beginning there was only one, and the one was God the Father and his Son living in perfect oneness and bliss. And then the Son of God, and who knows why, decided to move away from God, usurp the power of God, and become its own maker of things, maker of life. Now, it never really happened, but the sonship thought that it did. And so what was created really was an illusory world with a pair of minds, you know? And the duality of the mind of dark and the mind of light, the mind of ego, the mind of spirit, the wrong mind and the right mind. There was this duality. And when we are locked inside of the ego mind and we don't know that we have a decision maker, then the terror is awful and it's so punitive and depressing. When we can discover that we have the decision maker, we can make another choice. So this ontological guilt, what I discovered when I was younger, that the sin, the guilt, and the fear of retribution, the fear of punishment from God the Father was absolutely a dominating characteristic of my life. And I feel that the same is true of Rose right now. What the Course taught me was that I make mistakes. Mistakes can be corrected. I didn't sin and now must be condemned. I made mistakes that can be corrected. And the blockages around my heart are simply mistakes that can be corrected through forgiveness. So let me say that the pain and angst of guilt can be so profound that we look for externals upon which to place our guilt. And one of the things that Rose told me was that she was experiencing the fear of maybe doing her stuff on her daughter, creating negativity and pain and depression in her daughter. And I have to say that when we can't handle the pain of guilt, it seems as though the answer is to put it outside of ourselves. And of course that's not true, because it never leaves us. It goes out there and then it comes back, and then we have to find other victims to put it on. And then we victimize ourselves, and then we punish ourselves. And it's all truly the same. So in the glossary index, just a little paragraph. Let me just read this little bit. Projection reinforces guilt by displacing it onto someone else, attacking it there, and denying its presence in ourselves. It's an attempt to shift responsibility for separation from ourselves to others. And if we pull it back in, we do the same thing to ourselves. And in all honesty, we are not these little S's selves. We are not. So in this world of illusion, of sin, guilt, and fear, let me read a little bit of A Course in Miracles in chapter 13, The Guiltless World. And this is called The Cloud of Guilt. Guilt remains the only thing that hides the Father, for guilt is the attack upon his Son. The guilty always condemn, and having done so, they will still condemn, linking the future to the past, as is the ego's law. So, a sin, a wrong that I committed in the past, leads to the guilt in the present and the fear of punishment in the future. Now, this is what's so fascinating. Release from guilt is the ego's whole undoing. Make no one fearful, and that includes ourselves, for his guilt is yours, and by obeying the ego's harsh commandments, you bring its condemnation on yourself, and you will not escape the punishment it offers those who obey it. The world can give you only what you give it, for being nothing but your own projection, it has no meaning apart from what you found in it, and placed your faith in it. Whatever you hold dear, you think is yours. So here it is. If instead all of my sins instead are mistakes, where there's no condemnation, but where instead there can be correction, then you are guiltless. I am guiltless. We never left God the Father. So if we feel that we are in these separated identities, let's use this as a classroom to correct our mistakes, to choose again, to look at what the ego made and instead go into the mind of spirit. Know that these are mistakes that can be corrected, and that we, in the mind of spirit, we can find the light, and we can release others, release ourselves, and know what true freedom is. Thank you for being with me, and I look forward to sharing more with you. Thank you.